Hey, what's going on, champions? And welcome to Growth Mode. I'm your host, Donnie Boivin, the CEO and founder of Success Champions. I'm a 20-year sales guy that spent a lot of that journey trying to figure out how to be better at sales and now be better in business as I run all these different damn companies. Hanging out with me is Kevin Snow, a sales and automation genius and absolute badass. This guy is a wizard behind getting all your systems and processes in place. And on this show, we debate and talk about how in the world you can grow your business through business development, sales, and the likes. Oh, Kevin, what the fuck are we talking about this week?
Hey everyone, hi Donnie. So today's topic is something that a lot of people really suck at, and that is sales follow-up. What comes to my mind when I throw that topic out there is you and I both have tons of people trying to sell us stuff for my company and for Success Champions, and the follow up from them after the initial meeting or the pricing meeting, when we're at that point where they're wanting a decision, is atrocious. It is, it's pestering more than actual valuable follow-up. It's like, hey, so did you make a decision yet? Hey, are you ready to buy? It's not actual, it's nothing that's driving me to make a decision. So How do people fix that?
Well, let me tell a quick story to understand the power of follow-up. And this was a gal selling to me. And so we have the Badass Business Summit, right? We do that every year. And we're doing it this year in September. But she represented a guy whose name I knew, and I won't name drop, but he wanted to speak at the Badass Business Summit. So we did the first time last year, and she reached out last year. We already had the speaker spots full. And I said, hey, I don't have a spot for him this year, but we will be doing this again, next year. Oh, flash forward. So it was originally, or flash backwards, it was originally slated for April of 2020. And she had reached out back, in March, trying to get him on the stage, and we didn't have a space for him. So it got moved to September of 2020. She reached out then to try and get him on stage, but we had revamped everything and didn't need another speaker coming in. So we flash to the end of 20. She reached out again, and this time I'm like, all right, let's jump on a call. So not only did she stay following up with me, trying to get her guy on stage, she was persistent and consistent and respectful as hell in her reach out to get to that conversation. We finally jumped on a Zoom call, and we're not going to bring him in for this, summit, but we're now talking about me going on to some of his shows, some of his stages, and, it very well may be that one of the upcoming Badass Business Summits, he comes and he's on ours. So the fascinating thing was, every time she reached out, I thought, damn, I need to talk to this girl. But I forgot about her, in between, all the chaos and running the businesses.
Yep.
But she kept up with me, and we made updates on the websites or the posts and whatnot. She was right there following all along and reached out at very strategic times to get to a final conversation. So it's not a closed type business deal, but God, I loved her tenacity and reaching out like that.
So two things pop out of that story for me. One is this timing that you follow up and making sure there's a reason that you're following up at that particular time, not just like, well, it's Monday, I got to do my follow-up calls. And two, I want to know, what did she say in the follow-ups? Was she referencing specific things that she knew was going on in our world? Or was she doing the really bad, hey, have you had a chance to take a look at our pricing yet?
No, she was very smart about it. And look, if you're going to be on stages, podcasts, you write books, you're going to have an ego, right? You're going to have, Dude, she pumped me up every
No.
fucking but she pumped me up every fucking time. It was awesome. So obviously now if you're trying to reach out to me, do this. But she would pop in, she's like, dude, I love the updates about the summit. I love the videos you guys are doing. These things are solid. I can tell that this is going to be one of the most badass events of all time. And she would just do these little gestures that showed that she was playing along with what we were doing and she was engaging and always referencing some of the latest and greatest things that we were putting out there. So watching her use what we were doing, right? So as we put out content, she was using that content to her benefit. It wasn't spammy. It was very timely, and it was only done like when we did, major, changes to that summit. So what I would tell most people is if you're reaching out and you're uncomfortable with how you're wording it or phrasing it, don't hit the send button on that fucking thing. Make it valuable, make it useful. It's like, a guy that I've known for years. He's a sales guy, and we used to network heavily back in the day. Reached out to me. He goes, okay, I see how you talk about all the time. And Kevin and I are going to do an episode on bad LinkedIn reach outs, right? And just talk about some of the worst ones we've gotten. But he's like, all right, I always see you, bashing these bad, reach outs. He goes, how do I change it to, get people to connect with me? And I just quickly went to his profile and I was like, okay, Ryan, this is how I would reach out. Is I see you went to OU. I'm going to say, hey, I see you went to OU. I went to OU too. And that's going to be my reach out, right? There's no, hey, I work for so-and-so and I sell this, blah, blah, blah. Taking that same methodology is freaking just powerful in your follow-up. So your follow-up doesn't always have to be about your product and service. It can literally be, hey, I see you're doing XYZ, well done. I really like that. Or find something of value that you can use to make it non-business.
So there are CRMs out there, client relationship management tools. Donnie hates them, but I think they're really cool. And that they actually will link to your social media, and they will find and they'll pull in what your contacts are doing on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So you can actually see their posting in a central location.
Right.
So instead of going out to social media and getting sucked in and doing Facebook for an hour, or for Donnie's case, doing TikTok for an hour, you can just go into your CRM and look at your contact that you want to follow up with and see what they've been doing and seeing what they've been posting about, and use that as a tool. So I think that's really cool. And I love the fact when people are referencing something that's going on in my world and using that as a tool to bring value for what they do.
And yeah, I love that. And let's be honest, guys. If you suck at follow-up, it's because you hate what you do. I'm going to throw it out there. And here's why. I think a lot of people are either working sales careers they hate, or they're in a business they don't fully understand, or they're hitting some wicked self-limiting belief that is beating the shit out of them. Because if you truly loved what you did and you truly wanted to help people, follow-up would be a natural part of the process. But there is a trick if you completely suck at following up that I love. Fucking one call close everything. And then you never have to follow up.
So I think part of it is not only that you hate what you do. I think you can still love what you do, but be scared of the follow-up piece because you're scared of the no.
Yeah.
Because I remember as a young sales guy, before I started kicking ass and being, not caring anymore because I was always number one, following up with a potential close and having them say no now made my pipeline smaller.
Yeah.
So having the big pipeline to be able to show the managers like, yeah, I got $5.2 million in my pipeline. We're good, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's almost like a security blanket for some salespeople. Whereas, you know, I finally figured out, it's like, yeah, no, I need to get rid of all these because they're taking up time and they're cluttering my shit and screwing up all my stats. Hi, I'm an introvert and a detail guy. I like statistics. So having these
I'm
things
sorry.
sitting,
You like what? What are those?
statistics,
Yeah.
statistics. I like numbers. And I figured out that having all these things sitting in my pipeline that weren't going to close while they were making my pipeline bigger and inflating that, they were screwing my cycle time for how long it took me to close shit.
Well, and to your point, I think a lot of people are scared of sales in general, right? Because they don't like being sold to, and they feel like every time they're talking to somebody that they're going to come across like that greaseball fucking sales guy. And so everything they think about or try and do is emulating what they don't want to be. And it's always fun for me to watch people try not to be sales guys, so they come across exactly like the sales guy they're trying not to be. It's fascinating.
So I think there's two types of follow-up in sales. There's the prospecting follow-up where you're trying to get that initial appointment and get them into your pipeline, which is going to be one type of call. But then there's also the closing follow-up. So after you've met with them, talked pricing, and now you're trying to get them to say yes. And what I found for me has worked really well so that I don't have to do the, hey, it's Kevin from Time on Target. I'm following up on our conversation last week, blah, 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 on a weekly basis, is actually schedule the follow-ups with them.
Yes.
When I don't leave a meeting where I'm supposed to follow up with pricing or anything without a time scheduled that we're actually going to talk about that. And then when we talk there, if there's more things going on, it's all right. So we're going to meet now, then, and on a call and do it on this day. And there's always that scheduled time now. So it's not me just reaching out saying, hey, so it's now January. Our prices have changed. Is this something you're still interested in? Haven't heard from you for a while, blah, blah, blah. And all the really old, tired sales voicemail that we get.
Well, and think about it this way. When you say I'm just reaching out or I'm checking in.
Yep.
Right? Everybody
just following up.
Everybody hates that fucking shit. I mean, none of us like getting it. So instead, when you feel yourself writing those words, following up, checking in, all that, anytime you got to put just in front of it, just stop, right?
Yep.
Just stop with the whole phrase because you're justing all over everybody. That sounds like a really bad thing. Don't just on anybody. But but Kevin's right, is every sales interaction you have with somebody needs closure. So it's not closing, it's getting to that next step. Are we moving forward? Is this a no? Are we done with the conversation? And because people don't have the big pipeline, every conversation is a precious gem to them. And if you just fucking go prospect more, do more business development, get into more fucking conversations, you wouldn't worry about this one fucking deal. The same token is if you get closure, you get that next step on every fucking sales conversation, then there's no chasing game, which I don't chase. And I'm not going to chase somebody down if they don't have the balls to tell me no, or I don't have the balls for them in the moment to get that no, and they're hemming and hawing. I'm done, right? So get to the point in your head where you're like, and they're like, this is great. We're going to look at something like this probably in the fourth quarter. Go, cool. How should I follow up with you leading up to that? And you're going to be amazed. That simple question, asking them how to follow up, they're going to tell you specifically, hey, why don't you reach out in a couple months and I'll let you know where we're at and what's going on. But even if you have that permission, don't start off with, hey, just a reminder, we were going to, no, it's, hey, Kevin, I was just checking out some of the things on your, Facebook profile. Looks like a badass vacation, and it looks like everything's great. How are we doing on the fourth quarter decision? Right? Be purposeful on that follow-up.
Correct. Yeah, I'm all about that whole concept. I want them to give me permission to do things without giving them the control. So I think that's the phrasing for that question is, how would you like me to follow up, is really key as well. So that you are, it's just like the whole calendar game on who gets to book on whose calendar, which annoys me. It's like, I sent you my calendar, book on it. Why do I need a book on yours? But it's making sure, one, they've now said, hey, I want you to do it this way. So they've told you how they like it. And you can then set that up as, hey, you back in March, you asked me to follow up today to do this. When is, how are we coming on this project?
Yep. And I think having a specific call to action in that reach out makes it very easier to do, because look, life happens in between whatever's going on and when the decision needs to be made. Shit fucking happens. So, don't bet on that fourth quarter decision, right? Don't bet on they're going to have something new or make a decision go forward. I tell everybody, if you're in January and they say it's going to be something in the second, third, fourth quarter, or even the next year, assume that's a no. Because otherwise, you're going to put that shit in your pipeline and it's going to clog your fucking pipeline up, right? Put them in a different stage of your pipeline for sure.
Yep.
But assume that deal's not going to happen. So you stay hungry and go get other shit. And then if it does happen, cool. But very few deals close over an elongated period of time because shit happens. Other people come into the mix, other relationships and things are made. So it's one hand on staying consistent and diligent in the reach outs and finding a specific touch point that you can reach out and say hello on. But it's also being okay that deal most likely won't move forward, and plugging your pipeline with other shit along the way. So I think a couple of very valuable lessons out of today were, one, get comfortable with the no. I thought that was a great point that Kevin threw out there. Don't be scared that you're going to get a no. Go build a big ass pipeline. The bigger the pipeline, legitimate prospects, people that can say yes to you, the more easy it is to do real follow-up conversations and be more confident in the moment. I think the other portion of it is remove the word just from your fucking vocabulary. And anytime you got to put that into a sentence, just delete the whole sentence and start over and ask a question that brings them a hell of a lot more value, or a statement that brings them more value.
Yep.
So as always, guys, if you got any value of hanging out with us today, one nugget, one gem, something you can use in your world, do us a favor and teach somebody else how to subscribe to the show. Literally, those subscriptions are like you walked up and gave us a virtual hug. Appreciate you guys as always, and see you next time.